It's Tuesday, February 4, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. Barbados is mourning the passing of legendary poet and academic Edward Kamau Brathwaite. The acclaimed poet, known as one of the godfathers of modern West Indian literature, was 89 years old. Some of his works include Masque, Rites of Passage, and Barbadian poems. Chief Executive Officer of the National Cultural Foundation, Carol Roberts, told Barbados Today his passing is a tremendous loss for the island and the world.
We've lost one of our foremost poets, academics, icons of literature and the arts and everything that it means to be an aware, creative Barbadian. Kamau's legacy isn't only pertinent to Barbadians and Barbados, but to students of literature and the arts the world over. And as so often happens, he was revered more globally, some may argue, than he was in his own place of birth. But that in no way takes away from the power and magnitude and beauty of his collection of works, which obviously is his lasting legacy. So while we are deeply saddened at the Foundation and in the cultural fraternity at his passing, we are also so much richer for having known him, whether you knew him personally, like I and so many others did, or you felt a sense of kinship with him through reading his works.
Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM, David Commichong, was saddened by the passing of Brathwaite, whom he described as an icon.
I knew, Kamau personally, but I knew him even more intimately through his extensive body of work, not just the poetry, but also the history, the culture, criticism, and scholarship. And I always thought of Kamau Brathwaite as our philosopher, our wise elder. I always envisaged him as the wise shepherd who, from his residence in Cowpasture, kept watch over our nation, kept watch over our people, kept watch over our culture. And it's sad to think that we no longer have him. We no longer have this great man with us. I have always felt that we Barbadians have done ourselves a disservice by not making sufficient use of his tremendous body of work. And I hope that his death will wake us up.
In other news this Tuesday, Barbados won't be joining its Caribbean neighbors that have imposed travel bans on China. At a press briefing today to update the public on yesterday's discussions held by Caribbean health ministers on the coronavirus, Health Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic made it clear that Barbados is sticking with its prevention protocols, which have been approved by the World Health Organization.
The efforts in China by the government of China to contain the virus, you can see that there have been some comprehensive efforts made by the government of China to try to contain the virus. And then, in a sense, China really is on quarantine from airlines and other places, so that restricts travel in a significant way. The fact that we do not have a direct flight from China is another layer of coverage, in the sense that people coming from China, for example, must go through either Europe, North America, in order to get here, and those countries are doing a fairly good job in terms of screening. So that is why we have taken that decision. There have been about a dozen international incidents in terms of public health over the last 50 years or so, and Barbados has never closed its borders, not even for Ebola. And we relied on our people and the competence and the collaborative nature of the people who we have at the ports of entry to be able to keep the country safe, and we are confident with that.
He noted that this policy was put to the test when the island provided safe harbor to the AIDA cruise ship that was turned away by St. Lucia and other OECS countries recently.
When the cruise ship that was here, the AIDA, I don't remember the full name, but some countries in the Caribbean denied entry. We did not. Why? Because we based that on procedures and protocols. We based that on what we are accustomed doing. And when Port Health went on board the vessel, a vessel carrying about 4,000 persons total, crew and passengers, there were 40 people that were ill on board that vessel, including persons with gastroenteritis and other illnesses that were not related to corona viruses. And not only that, but the percentage which is established, that percentage is established by World Health Organization and so on, the numbers were way below what is required in terms of quarantining a vessel. And so we took the decision to allow the vessel to dock, allow passengers to disembark, but those ill passengers had to remain on board. And that decision was based on evidence, on the science, and on tested and established protocols.
Intense efforts continue at the mangrove landfill throughout the day to extinguish yesterday's blaze at the St. Thomas facility. After making good progress, a small grass fire flared up this evening, setting back the work. Chief Fire Officer Errol Maynard updated reporters at the scene.
We had approximately about 3 o'clock. The fire was basically under control. The last cell was under control. A grass fire occurred to the eastern side of the tire dump, and that caught the tires in that area. And all the resources then were diverted to this section because the other portion was not posing a significant threat at the time. So all the resources, as you can see, are diverted to this section here, the eastern side, which is closest to the road. We anticipate that this can be a prolonged effort also because there are a lot of tires in this area.
So basically what they're doing right now, they're using topsoil?
Yes, they're using topsoil to cover the tires in this area. It should be a bit easier in this particular cell than the previous cell because there are no identified sinkholes in this area. But nevertheless, the banking in this area is just as dangerous, so they have to be careful of that. And as it gets darker, it becomes more challenging, and that is one of the shortcomings of this fire that we have right now.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley has received a top honor from Guyana during a brief visit to Georgetown on Monday, where she paid a courtesy call to President David Granger. She was conferred with Guyana's second highest honor. President Granger said Mottley was being awarded for her dedication and commitment to building CARICOM and representing the interests of Caribbean people as the region advances the CARICOM single market and economy. In response, Prime Minister Mottley said she was humbled by the award, noting that the close ties between Guyana and Barbados have contributed to their development.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To regional news, the Bahamas economy remains healthy, so says local officials who contend that despite the big challenge of Hurricane Dorian, the economy has held its own. More in this report from ZNS News.
More positive news on the Bahamian economy, and experts are predicting it will continue to grow in the months ahead. While the economy grew slower in 2019 over the previous year due to Hurricane Dorian, the #1 industry is being described as healthy, and this is due to growth in the first half of 2019. Governor of the Central Bank, John Roll.
The growth is zero, or it is a negative in some low percentage rate. There's a lot of rebuilding happening, which is a positive stimulus to the islands. So that helps to cut into some of the losses from the direct visitor spending.
On the international scene, Britain will ban the sale of new petrol, diesel, and hybrid cars from 2035, 5 years earlier than planned, in an attempt to reduce air pollution. We get more from Reuters Television.
We Prime Minister Boris Johnson formally announcing the plan on Tuesday, as well as details of the United Nations COP26 climate summit due to take place in Glasgow in November.
This phenomenon of global warming is taking its toll on the most vulnerable populations around the planet, which is why the UK has now committed to 11.6 billion in tackling global climate change and in financing climate initiatives around the world.
Britain has set itself a net zero emissions target by 2050, and Johnson believes this revised diesel and gas ban can help get there faster. The idea has come in for criticism, though, by the former British government minister picked to oversee the COP26 summit. Claire O'Neill, who was once Energy Minister and chosen by Johnson to lead the event until she was fired last week, accusing Johnson of a lack of leadership on the issue.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.